Hi, Quinn Miller here from Employee Benefits Asia, a brand by Tenzing Pacific Services. Today we're going to talk about multiple country group health insurance policies. Specifically, we're going to get into what does that mean? What are your options? The pros and cons of each options, and some final thoughts and comments. So let me minimize this and we'll get started. So multiple country groups in particular, we're talking about companies that have multiple entities across various countries here in Asia. We could also be looking at a company that has a primary entity but has remote workers, such as developers who are working in other countries. And the last type is a parent company who owns different entities, such as a school group who would own multiple schools across different countries here in Asia. So the first type of a option is one group policy for all employees across the group. So the things to consider is where is the contracting entity at? How many employees are in each country? How many employees are in the contracting entity? Now, normally to make a contract with employees across various entities, you need to have a primary contracting company, and that contracting company and that country needs to have a certain minimum threshold, usually 30% of the total number of employees in a group. So a pro, number one, it's centralized policy admin. It's a centralized offering. You're bringing everything under one house. That just makes things a lot easier from an admin perspective, and it's an even, fair offering to all employees across their countries. Uh, it's easier to get medical health disregarded, which means pre-existing conditions are covered, waiting periods are waived. Normally, in order to do this, you need to have at least 10 adults or 10 employees. So by expanding to more employees across different groups, it's easier to achieve that. The next, it's you get higher group discounts. The more people you insure, the more diversified your risk. That means the higher the group discount your insurer can offer you. The next is you get a better claims experience and an overall user experience. By getting that MHD in place, it means the insurer's not having to check if every claim is a pre-existing condition or not. That means it's much easier for your team in order to get claims approved, as they're not having to check every single time. And with providers that do these multi-country groups, these are going to be in more of your international providers. They're going to have higher benefit limits, more modern technology, direct billing networks all across the Asia region, whether that's for inpatient, outpatient, dental, or maternity. So these are going to be a preferred way to go. But the major downside of these is they generally cost more money. So if you're comparing an international provider who can do these multi-country groups versus a local insurer, let's say in Indonesia or Philippines or Vietnam, they're going to be pretty different in terms of the benefit levels and also the premiums. The next con, you can't split payments by your different entities. The payment would need to come from a single entity. So this could matter if you need to, keep things separated from a P&L perspective, accounting, or if there's any tax breaks that you may get by doing a one overall group that may interfere with that. The next is it may not suit local practices. So if you have, let's say, employees here in Vietnam, they may be used to a certain style of plan, style of benefits, where the international option that you provide them may not be what your employees want. That's in custom with what they're used to based off of previous jobs they've worked in. The next option is a country by country groups. So again, let's think about if you had a company that had entities in Vietnam, in Cambodia, and in Thailand. So your next option would be you set up an individual contract in each country. That could be with an individual provider. It could be with the same provider. It could be with different providers. It could have different benefits, different start dates. But the benefit is each country can individually decide what's appropriate for them in terms of benefits and also in terms of premiums. You're not risking overinsuring or overpaying for local employees who are part of your group. And the next one is if you do have your multiple entities, each company can pay locally. You're abiding by local customs regulations. You can get your VAT invoice, and you're keeping anything separated in terms of your P&L statements, accounts, things along those lines. The cons, there's no continuity between what you're offering across the region. Um, a lot more admin work overall in the grand scheme of things. If you are not getting MHD because you do not have enough people, that means each individual employee would have to fill in full medical application forms and go through individual underwriting. And I can tell you from experience that can become like a bit of a headache. It's more contracts, more payments, and overall more processes. So you lose that continuity by setting up individual group company policies. And the last, you miss out on group discounts in that MHD requirement. Now, the third option would be a semi-split group. And this in particular would apply if you have a number of employees who are based in a higher cost country like Hong Kong or Singapore. So if you have, let's say, 20 employees in Hong Kong or Singapore, you could set up a group policy through Hong Kong or Singapore just for those employees. And then everyone else who would be in, let's say, Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, Cambodia, Philippines, they could all be pooled into one group together. The reason you would do this is because if the contracting company was Hong Kong or Singapore, usually you're going to need to require a worldwide excluding the USA coverage area. And that's going to be with providers that are quite high premium. Now, in order to do that, if you did that under one group, and then you're grouping in your employees who are in Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, so on and so forth, you're going to be overpaying for that second tier of employees. So instead, what you could do is you could create two different groups, one for the higher cost countries, and the other group, you could do a Southeast Asia excluding the USA, which is going to immediately lower your premium. And it's going to be a lower price premium because those other employees are not physically residing in Hong Kong or Singapore. So that's what I call a semi-split group. That's a way that you could set up two separate policies that would accommodate those two groups of people. So overall, the summary, you're going to have an option. One is doing one group, the other is doing split groups. One group is generally going to be easier policy admin. You can take advantage of better group discounts, get your employees covered for any pre-existing conditions that they may have easier. It's going to be higher level benefits with more modern providers and overall better user experience. The big downside is it costs more. By doing split groups, countries can make individual decisions themselves that are in line with what is customary in each country. It's individual payments, invoices. It's usually with local style plans that have lower limits and also lower premiums. It's more overall admin work at the big picture of things. There is not that continuity between, countries, and it's not good for small groups. So if you only have 10, 15 people, but those people are spread out across a number of countries here in Asia. Doing split groups, you're probably going to have to do full medical underwriting for each individual person, where rather than doing a group policy where you group them together and you're taking advantage of those group discounts that we talked about. So if you are a business owner, a business leader, an HR professional, and you're looking for group health insurance and you have employees that are spread out across multiple countries in Asia and you're looking for help today, please get in touch. I'd be more than happy to help you, run you through your options, get you some quotes, and help you make an informed decision. Please get in touch with me today, and I hope to hear from you soon. Thanks.